there's still a misconception about what truly a survivor of trafficking is. People talk about, they use words like prostitute and that they want to be out there. They talk about OnlyFans and different things in which people are making a choice to participate in these activities. And I'm like, that's just not a reality. People won't choose to sell their body. There are reasons why people are in those situations. No one's going to choose to be on screen.
Hello and welcome to The Movement, a podcast that resources, empowers and develops leaders in the fight against human trafficking. Today we have a very special guest, Timeka Walker. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a blessing.
No one knows you yet. Maybe they do. Maybe some people are watching and they're like, hey, it's Timeka. Who are you? What's your background? How did you get here? Other than I invited you. So are you a local?
I'm from Dallas, Texas, but I've been here for over 25 years in Houston. And so just really love the work that I do. I'm a social worker by trade. And so my heart
social work and psychology. I saw that too.
Yes. So love people, love to understand folks in the community. And so just for the past decades, just really working closely with vulnerable populations and really trying to find a way to connect with people at the place where they need to be seen and heard and loved. So throughout my career, just have really done work that's centered around that. And since I was a kid, grew up with a single mother, impoverished in neighborhoods that were very vulnerable, so saw a lot growing up. Yeah. And so just knew that I wanted to find a way to connect and love on people in a way that my mom loved on me and my family. Nice. And met me where I was as a kid and loved me through all the things that I experienced, as we all experienced as children growing up. So yeah, just enjoyed that.
And your current role, describe that.
So I'm the CEO of United Against Human Trafficking. It's a nonprofit here in Houston, Texas that really works every day to end human trafficking here in the city and other parts of the country. I really love empowering survivors and giving a voice to those who have been through so much in their life. And so as a leader of the organization, we really are about uniting people, bringing communities together and finding ways that we all have can meet in our humanity to really support those in need. And so just a blessing to be able to lead in that way. I value leadership, a servant leader, and look to the community to provide guidance and support and want to be there in the way that folks have been there for us. Sure. So a long life of just love and giving and centered around that and everything that I do.
That's and not light work.
Yeah.
It's pretty heavy.
pretty heavy
subjects and heavy environment. So I guess you're built tough.
Yeah.
So I assume that helps to at least be ready for it. Did you always feel like there was something, this is where you were going to be, or is that a surprise on your journey where you're like, wow, check it out?
I think so. I would say a surprise in this area in particular because for many years I knew I wanted to help. I thought I wanted to be a therapist, a counselor. I knew I wanted to give in that way. And in grad school, I did a paper with a group of folks on modern day slavery and hadn't even really heard of the issue. And that was back in the late 2000s.
Yeah, the early days of all that.
Yes, and wasn't even aware. And so did a lot of work over my career with youth, at-risk youth, HIV/AIDS, housing, homelessness, and was actually wanting to do mercy ships. I don't know if for those who've heard of mercy ships, and actually looked into that back in 2014, and then Ebola hit, and I was like, maybe I'm not going to Africa. Maybe I'll stay here in the States.
I feel like something changed.
Yes. And so I began looking for another job and was just taking time to really see where God wanted me to go, and came across this position and was just so touched by the work that was being done in the community and wanted to be a part of it.
So you went right into that deep end then. So wow. How many years have you been doing it?
For 10 years, actually. This year is 10 years. Wow. Yes.
And a lot's changed in those 10 years. Yeah.
Yes, it has.
And you've been in United Against Human Trafficking the whole time.
Yes, I have.
So, and explain a bit how United Against Human Trafficking works. Is it a nonprofit? How does it function?
Yeah, so we're a 501c3. We were founded back in 2005 and got our 501c3 in 2007. And so we started as a coalition, which really focused on uniting folks in the movement, really trying to bring awareness and education to the community about human trafficking. And over the years, we've really expanded and done more beyond just education. We do survivor-centered work. We've also worked with the local law enforcement, FBI, to really try to provide a space where people feel safe to really come come together to combat this issue and really want to be a uniting force and really focus on bringing everyone together, inclusivity, finding ways to meet people where they are. And we really want to be a beacon of light where people feel safe. And so all of our staff are really about unity. All of our staff are really focused on servant leadership as a whole. We're a small organization, but mighty, and just really trying to really embark on in the next kind of few years, how can we kind of elevate the conversation even more, because so much has really changed in the movement compared to even 10 years ago.
Yeah. How do you find introducing people to the subject? What's that like?
Well, when you're the average dinner out with friends or family and just folks, it's like, what do you do? Well, actually, they're like, huh? What's happening? Yeah. So I've had to find a way, just like in our organization, to bring light into the darkness and finding hope, and really trying to focus on the great things that are being done and honor the survivors and elevate the conversation to where people can feel like they can actually join forces with us, where it's not too overwhelming. And so I always say just bringing light into the darkness and making sure that we know that light overcomes darkness, and making sure that
it can be heavy. So how about helping people with disbelief? I mean, that's got to be, I find there's so many people don't know. Without freaking people out, which is one of your things, can you show them hope, but the risk that's around us, and helping people to, because I don't think they want to process it. I don't think people find the subject easy. So are there techniques you use in explaining it and helping people understand it?
Yeah, I think that I was just actually having this conversation with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about just our desire to continue to push forward as folks in the movement and folks who are really empowered by the work that's already being done, and what we can continue to do. And we talked about how, as leaders in the movement, that we can find space to where people feel safe. And I think that finding commonalities, because someone knows someone that maybe have experienced a tragedy in their life or overcome something. And so starting in that center of humanity where, hey, if there was maybe someone they knew that had abuse in their family, or someone they knew that was in a marriage that wasn't safe. And so starting there, and some of that, things that people have overcome, and finding a way back to the conversation on trafficking is what I've found that works. Because we all have pain, we all have suffering, we've all experienced that, or know folks who have. And so I think just meeting folks in that humanity and building upon that, I think that you have to find a way to make people feel safe, and also to really let them know that they're not alone. And I think when you're talking about human trafficking, it's such a lonely experience for those who have been trafficked. Right. So when you begin to, to have that conversation, it's really trying to think through ways to where we can find commonality.
And as part of your logic, how do we help people to make the journey through what's happened to them? What you're thinking in engaging people? Are we thinking there's people around us who are or have been trafficked? Is that part of your logic?
Yeah, definitely there are. I think that that's the biggest misconception, is that it's, when it comes to trafficking, that it's happening in another part of the world. Trafficking is happening right next door in our neighborhoods, in our communities. And so what I try to do is just be a travel companion. I talk with survivors and folks who are overcome that, hey, we are walking this journey together. And I think that if folks feel like you're walking with them in their pain, in their journey, they feel more open and feel safe. So with the folks that we work with and the ones that we come in contact with, we just talk about meeting them where they are. And I'm a social worker, as I shared, so that's something that we are trained to do, like get in it with folks and know that you're not better than them, know that you could, just by the grace of God, you were not trafficked, because that's how susceptible we can all be if we have certain vulnerabilities, and we all do in certain populations. But it's happening I always say, in suburbia, it's happening in impoverished neighborhoods, it's happening, everywhere. But we don't have to be scared of it, just be aware, right? Yeah. That's happening.
That's a hard one, to not have fear. I think people are afraid of, especially if they understand it to be large. But it's also being ran by scary people. At the same time, I think not everyone understands that a lot of people who are trapped inside of it are not physically restrained. Is that your experience, that people are free to move around inside of being trafficked?
Most are able to walk freely amongst us. It's really something that is trauma that is attached to the trafficker, and that a relationship that is built, and people have a hard time understanding that there's a relationship. And so when I talk about survivors and folks who have been impacted by trafficking. I talk about anyone who's been in an unhealthy relationship and start there, because we've all, if we want to acknowledge it or not, have been in a relationship, whether it's our family, whether it's a partner or marriage, where at times it can be difficult, and you stay for that emotional connection. So there is an emotional, although unhealthy, connection to traffickers that sometimes folks experience, and so they don't know how, and they don't have anywhere to go. If they leave, where are they going to go? A lot of time their identification, they don't have family members. A lot of time they're estranged from their family members. So if they do leave, what are the options? And so as an organization, we're trying to find a safe place for them to come, because there are other options. Yeah.
Are there people groups, you think, in Houston who aren't reached and helped in this way?
Yeah, I my heart goes out to the LGBTQIA community, because a lot of them have been, especially teenagers in foster care and things of that nature, have been kicked out by their family members. They are estranged. They're on the streets. 16, 17-year-old had nowhere to go. I think particularly now, in the time that we're in now, for the immigrant population, because there's so much happening, and so there are tremendous vulnerabilities there, potential deportation or the fear of that, even though most of survivors of trafficking that come here have come here legally, and that's the biggest misconception. And it's like, once they're here, then they may be victimized by a trafficker or the things. So there's a lot of different layers to the issue that we have to address.
A lot of areas, because we had someone earlier on the show who, just talking about the Indian community, and it got me off down this road of some, areas that we might be missing and aren't thinking about. And there's plenty of untouched. I think culturally there's care locations, but the trust level to walk into an organization or to walk away from something that they don't fully understand. I don't know that everyone understands that people who are trafficked don't identify themselves as trafficked most of the time. Are you guys involved in the recovery process? Is that something you do inside of United Against Human Trafficking?
Yeah, we work closely with, we have case managers on staff that work really closely with folks that are referred to us. We do outreach to really try to identify survivors as well. We work closely with the Houston Police Department as they're having stings and things, that they identify survivors, and we really work closely with that. I think that what we have tried to do, because there is an awareness in the community that wasn't there 10 years ago, but there's still a misconception about what truly a survivor of trafficking is. People talk about, they use words like prostitute, and that they want to be out there. They talk about OnlyFans and different things in which people are making a choice to participate in these activities. And I'm like, that's just not a reality. People won't choose to sell their body. There are reasons why people are in those situations. No one's going to choose to be on screen and allow men, women, and folks to purchase videos of them. I just think there is a misconception of what a true survivor looks like. So what we try to do when we work closely with survivors is to have them tell their stories to us in a way where they feel safe, and so we can better educate the community and improve our programming. Because as you were saying before, if people are trying and have good hearts and want to do the work and want to help, but if you're not on point with understanding what is needed, you can do further trauma to survivors. And I've seen that happen in the movement over the years.
You said it quickly, but to say that prostitution is a thing, whereas being prostituted is what's happening. But that's a step for people who are not used to it, who are used to movies, and that OnlyFans has often got someone behind it. This is like a shocker for people. So you're living it, you're seeing it all the time. I guess that if where I hear it in complication is sex workers' rights as a group. How do you deal with that when people, because we get that all the time, what about sex workers' rights, which they surely need some.
Yeah.
How does that work when you're thinking through that and dealing with it?
Yeah, we actually, a few years ago, I think it was before COVID, right around COVID, had a few sex workers that actually reached out to us and felt that the work that we were doing was actually jeopardizing their livelihood because of just the anti-trafficking work. And so, had conversations with them about the importance, some of our team members, the importance of kind of keeping a balance there and really trying to honor it. And as folks who really believe in meeting people where they are, you have to find a way in, because in the humanity of it all, we know that a woman doesn't want to sell her body to men on a daily basis several times a day. So in understanding the psychology of that and how to really figure out where it all began. And what I find is that if you trace back and you have enough conversation, it's not one conversation, it's not two, it's many conversations with folks. If there's some trauma and some abuse or some early grooming or something that took place, their mothers, a lot of time other women introduce their children or their community to sex work. So it's not one conversation, but the best way that I say for folks who maybe encounter that, particularly if this is going to be something that's international, every country is different. They have different laws, but I think that continuing to meet folks in their humanity and talking to women and men who choose to be sex workers and getting to the heart of it is where it begins.
Yeah, like and the general love approach, that just love people where they're at, and it's not a judgment thing, which people move to that, which I think that's good. I think the understanding of what people have gone through to get where they are and being invited in. It's not for you to make an assessment. It's complicated because we've learned that people find themselves in that position, and sometimes it's cultural, like you say, it's been passed on. Yeah, very complicated subject, but getting people to be always in a base position of acceptance and love with anybody, whatever they're going through.
No, I love that, David, and I want to acknowledge something you said earlier. First of all, my heart goes out to you. You're a tender man. You're a man that cares. Your eyes say it all. The windows to so much love and support over the years for this movement. We need more men like you.
We do.
In the movement, we need men to speak to other men about the realities of what's happening.
And they do. It's naturally in men. They have daughters and sisters and mothers, and that's their clue. And that's the journey to go on, is understanding how you feel about that. Now, some people have trauma tied to that as well, but people need to do the work, and that's the general life story for all of us, right? We all have work to do a better job of building a good society and making a difference in this world. So.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to men in general. I have two brothers. I'm a middle child, two brothers, and I talk with them often. And as an African American, culturally, they're just pieces that are real about how trafficking is viewed. In the 60s and 70s, you had, black exploitation films where it was actually elevated to be a pimp. This is a part of the culture. This means you made it. And so really dealing with from that perspective. But I say a shout out to men because it's a hard world to live in when you're a man, when you can't express what you're really feeling.
Yeah.
And about just the pain and sufferings that you've experienced. And you, as women, it's important for us to create a safe place for men to do that. So with my brothers, I talk about, my brother, he says, my family calls him Mika. Mika, I need to talk to you because I'm trying to find a way to talk to his kids. And we'll sit down and my brother will cry with me. He probably's like, did you put that? It's going to be out there somewhere, bro. If you're listening, I apologize. But we talk about, and he says, you know where I can cry? I can cry with my sister.
Yeah.
But it's difficult for him to find other spaces about his pain. And how do we create a space for men to talk about their pain? So at our organization, we have a program called SSE, and Stopping Sexual Exploitation. And we get men together to talk about who've been arrested for buying sex. And full transparency, when we began to do demand work years ago, there was a lot of pushback from the movement. Why would you want to work with the buyers? Why are you doing that? And I'm like, we have to, if there are no buyers, then you don't have any survivors of trafficking. The healing that is taking place in these classes, the men that are being reconciled with their wives, reconciled with their family members because of the deep, all the pieces around pornography that nobody wants to talk about. It's rampant. Men are addicted. They don't.
It's addiction. It's hard for people to understand.
Yes, it is. They were.
Well, it's addiction, and it's got nothing to do with sex.
All of that. Say it, preach it, brother. Preach it.
It's a shocker for men because they're, they feel like this is just me. I'm just a man. And it's got nothing to do with sex. And as men learn in those processes, as you go through this whole, most of my leadership training is off of things I've learned from those groups. It's like, my goodness, like your limbic system, how you're wired, and why you do what you do, because it's trauma with men, just the same. It's traumatically driven. But yeah, having that conversation, now that's a journey. It's and it's the cultural stuff with it. We do a class called Conscious Leadership. Okay. And I talk about being Scottish, which has its own cultural junk like everyone does. But one of the other guys in the movement was just sitting there going, I can't take this. What are you doing? You're disassembling us.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. There's things we do that are bad because we were brought up this way. And so I think every male culture needs that. You need to do some disassembly to go, it's not natural for men. They don't tend to want to sit and chat things out. But if they want to stay married, it's a good start. Like if you're like a good friend of mine, was a Scottish friend of mine, put me in therapy. He didn't put me in therapy, but he suggested it in our way that we were just talking. And I was like, no, you're joking. Because he was Scottish. And I'm like, no one even thinks of that in Scotland. But I did. I started going. In fact, my wife was hilarious because she decided to take the same therapist and take the next appointment for a while and turned it into marriage therapy eventually. She was pretty smart.
Smart woman.
Very smart. I was like, what are you doing? Why are you here? But that's not normal for men to think about. But it is necessary to develop a strong society, a strong man who can really do what they're made to do, just build up and be a part of making things right. You need to have some kindness, even though you're like, they're doing something horrible. Yeah, they are. But if they thought for a minute, no, there are some people who they would do bad things. That's a whole deeper therapy.
Yeah, it is.
But your average, like if you knew this was a child or there's a chance this is a child and they're lying to you, and it's obvious, but we do talk through that. We do talk through, particularly when we do the care packages, because there's men are like, are you telling me? Well, we're also telling you they're probably not going through nursing school. How did you know that most of them were so well? Because we learn. They say the same stories to you over and over and over again. They're stories to make you feel a certain way. And suddenly you're uncovering something that maybe they knew, maybe they didn't. Some men, they're like, yeah, I knew. Some are like, I had no clue. But either way, one of the guys we talked to, he thought he was a philanthropist. I'm helping them out. It's a victimless crime. So you're going, no, it's not. And you're just starting to unpeel that. Now, some are deep in addiction. You're not going to stop it, but they have to choose that path. But yeah, not a lot of ways for men to learn to talk, to learn to be healthy. But it's needed. It's a part of the whole journey. It's for society. And it's funny, we don't talk in our general meetings about pornography. We don't talk about strip clubs in general because we're purposely making it distant for men. Because if we go straight there, then I was telling a group that does hits the demand side, I'm like, this is like going to Scotland and telling people about alcoholism.
I was going to say.
It's not going to go well because, we're all of my family alcoholics. We certainly drank. We would never call ourselves alcoholics, but everyone was drinking at levels that would technically make you an alcoholic. But of course we're not, because everyone's going to work and not drunk. That's the general measure in Scotland. But the rest of the time you can be drunk, it's okay. So it's the same. It's such a normalized thing that it's not the entry in. You can try and convince people of that, but you've got to get them to start a journey of change. And to do that, there's got to be like a ramp. So we do that on purpose. A lot of the work we do is trying to deal with that. That's fascinating. So yeah. But you are dealing on the disruption side with demand in people who've been caught in stings, which is interesting. You said that. I don't know that people know that happens.
Yeah, I remember when I started, and it was a deep dive for me into working really closely with law enforcement. When you come from a very impoverished neighborhood like I did, as a kid, I, heard gunshots, and I was at home. So law enforcement in the community that I was in was more aggressive, and you would see things. So when I first began to do this work, to be in rooms with, the DA, the FBI, and everybody's like got their guns.
Did you have a natural mistrust?
I'm not a gun person. I don't own a gun. I don't believe in guns. I believe it, it's to be regulated, but people can have their guns, do what you got to do. But me personally, it was just always. So when I walked into one of those meetings, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, what is happening here? Yeah. But I learned really quickly, the tenderness of the folks that I was working with in law enforcement. They just wanted to do right. They wanted to uphold the law. And so I got a chance to really work with them in a campaign back in 16 for the Super Bowl that was here in Houston back then. And what I learned was that these are men who themselves had experienced certain traumas, and they were trying to do their best to make sure that survivors were protected.
Sure.
And they were just got a bad rap. And so we talked about stings. We talked about, and I was real clear as a social worker and as a human being, I didn't believe in shaming. And so we would have really healthy debates about putting folks who have been arrested, their profiles all over the news. And I would be like, guys, that's somebody's husband, that's somebody's dad, that's somebody's brother. I understand it's a tactic for law enforcement, but even to this day, I don't agree with it, because there is pain there and you're further traumatizing. And I understand why people kind of navigate towards that. But for me, I was trying to help them understand that that's not going to help heal a man by putting him and blowing up his life like that. The way you find healing is through relationship. And so we would talk with law enforcement about, when you're doing the stings, have a conversation about with the John. Why is that happening? And also understand that the survivor is a victim and that you have to treat them accordingly. So I've always had a tenderness towards men, because they want to be the protector, and we as women want them to protect us, but it's like you can also give them a hug. You can also let them know that it's okay to cry and lean on your shoulder. So it's been a journey with law enforcement over the years, but just really making sure that we continue to bridge that gap, particularly in communities of color, because there is that distance, because there's been so much trauma with law enforcement and communities of color for centuries. I mean, just over time. So when it comes to sting, I have mixed feelings about them, because I get the necessity of it, but there's just further trauma. I mean, I had someone once that was connected to our organization said that one of their friends' husbands was one that was caught. Yeah. And I was like, how is she doing? She was like, it ain't good. Mm-hmm. But he had a daughter, and he got caught with doing something that unfortunately our society normalizes. I mean, it's a rite of passage for men to have a bachelor party and have strippers at the bachelor party. If you're not having strippers, there's something wrong with your bachelor party. You know what I mean? And when you go off to college, for the frat parties. I mean, that's just a part. So people don't want to acknowledge that piece of that's been normalized, but then you want to shame a man who is engaging in behavior that's been normalized for a very long time. So I have a lot of thoughts about that.
That's good.
I have a lot of love for men, and I'm like, hey guys, I love you guys. I'm there for you. I want to hug you if you ever need just because it's hard. It's hard for men. It's hard out there. Yeah.
Well, and those points are points of potential change. That's where it's good to have options, because I've asked lots of people work in that space of, do they have to crash? Like, surely there's a path that says you don't have to crash, and most of them are like, yeah, I'd rather not. I'd rather we had other options than crashing. Yeah. Like, you just keep running, because it's an addiction spiral. Like, just continues to get worse and worse and worse, and bad things happen to people in the process. So it's, can we stop it? Can we do some things to stop in our journeys, create options? That's kind of my leadership reflection thinking, is when I'm trying to develop leaders, I'm always thinking about who they are as human beings. All of the lessons we have are at home.
Amen.
Everything you learn at work, all your bad behavior at work is happening at home, and they've been trying to tell you. They're your best voice that you're not listening to, and they're there as a tool to help you. So I love it in that developing strong leaders kind of journey. But so that's me doing my part. Everyone does their bit. Everyone does their bit. I actually did early on. I made a film of 1960 back when Backpage was still functioning as a methodology to buy sex, and so my wife just went through, gave me the addresses and the quotes, and I filmed the places, and then I made a little video and just showed it to the guys at work, just so here's what's happening, so just trying to get information to people. But it's tough. It's helping people understand, even that the laws changed here, so we're I think felony now, and so that's should help, but I mean, I don't know if it's certainly not getting out there much for people to understand how dangerous it is to even go into buying sex. But
how about this? What do you think about this, David?
Yeah.
So, the opportunity to be gentle with ourselves. It's an opportunity for us all to be gentle and be vulnerable. Brene Brown talks about the importance of vulnerability. She just changed the world.
For men, it's learning how to find pathways into those conversations. Yeah. Because they don't function the same way. The way men get into conversations is different. So certainly therapy is a good journey if you can put yourself in it, because it's simple to do, and many companies will cover your therapy, just so you know. Yeah. Like, it can be private, but starting a journey of wanting to find, the strongest, best you It does involve being kind
Yeah.
to yourself.
To yourself
It's
first.
the hardest.
Ooh,
It's
amen.
the hardest.
I know,
Like
but
people-
why? Why do you think, David? What is that? Because it is for all of us.
It is. It's how your limbic function works.
Yeah,
Basically, is
period.
your brain wants to protect you, and so when there's pain, you develop a protecting system, and so you just decide. For me, so my top limbic, I call it limbic lies, but my top limbic. So your brain messaging you all the time negative things about yourself. My top one is that I'm stupid. And it took me years because it was so integrated that the idea that that was a problem was ridiculous because I am stupid. Like, that's how bad the system is. So I was talking with
Are
a
you
bunch.
though?
Well, I was dyslexic growing up. Still am dyslexic. I never really solved dyslexia, but I'm not stupid. I feel it deep in anything that gets me angry or sad, or like the source is feeling stupid, crazy. But first time I explained it to people, I'm like, I finally unearthed this thing, because I had abandonment pretty high. And I'm like, okay, stupid. These guys are like, you're not stupid, right? And I laughed and went, yeah, I know. Then a few weeks later, I said to them, remember when I said, yeah, I know? In my head, I said, but I am stupid. And it's that deep. And it's just because I grew up where my family valued performance. We were all from poor family. Both my parents went to college and started changing the story for our family. So it becomes really important how we do. And they couldn't piece me together. Why do I seem to be smart, but I can't write and I can't read? And that means everything. All grades, everything was going nowhere. But even in the kindness of my parents, I still was hearing, like they would say, it's harder for you. You have to work harder. But you want to be a helicopter pilot? No, that would be too hard. Pick something lower, simpler. So everything is messaging to me. You're not going to, just having a job, my dad would say, having a job is good. If you could, and so all of that stuff built into my limbic system. So it comes out as self-hate for everybody. Everyone has something that was said, something that happened, something that gives you a feeling. And you don't place it to these thoughts you have. You just think these thoughts are true. But constantly speaking poorly of ourselves, that's where that comes from. And for men, you just have to stuff. That's your process, is because you're meant to be counted on. And so that's why they don't want to go and unpack. Unpacking is, as well as having a brain that compartmentalizes, is very dangerous. It's great if you have to go to war. It's terrible
if you're in a relationship.
Yeah, in a relationship it's complicated. You're going to have to do some more work, because you can compartmentalize. It's learning ourselves and how we work and how to do better and be kind.
I want to acknowledge, this is the social worker in me, just the level of vulnerability that you just displayed and shared is amazing. And I want to acknowledge that in the moment. And for all that are listening, that piece right there is what we should all be practicing as much as possible.
And
thank you for that.
I have a trick. Don't share wounds, share scars. In the process of learning, my father apologized for one thing.
Okay.
It was a big, deep, horrible thing, but my brother kept reminding him this thing happened. You did this, and finally he apologized. And at the time I said, Dad, it's fine, I forgive you. And I left, and it wasn't fine. Like, it was hard. And when I started talking to people about that, you're not ready yet. Don't talk about it too much, And so I think what I learned in life is when you're coming through the pain of something, don't be sharing it.
That's a good word.
Because you're not ready yet.
Well, you kind of preaching over there, brother. I mean, I don't know.
But
You might want to put that.
It is the trick, because otherwise you'll start sharing stuff and go, I hate this feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still working with stupid, but I know I'm not stupid, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of that, like not being able to read. Like I tell it from the rooftops. Like I don't read books,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like I have other things of value.
The courage that it takes to, sit in the seat that you're sitting in and to elevate the conversations that you're elevating speaks to the reality that when I was a kid, we couldn't even use that word in our household. So even when I'm about to say it now,
I can't say it.
I can't say it. It was like I stopped myself. My mom was like, "Yeah, it was like a bad word in our household."
It's probably similar.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there is that same experience. We're not saying that word.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good.
It's the same stuff.
My mom would
Okay,
let us.
I'm having too much fun with this now. We should have wrapped up.
Okay, we can wrap up. Whatever.
No, but I'm going to do this one.
Okay.
Love languages. Love languages.
I love. Quality time. Can we hang out, David?
That's why
this
is what's happening. This is what's happening.
Oh, is that what's happening?
Quality time as well.
Me too.
Anyway, here's the scary part. when you mark it, if you have like a 0 or like you feel like it's a negative, the dark side is, what about the other ones? You're meant to experience all of them. So the ones that you aren't, do you have a feeling about them? Like, is there resentment? Is there anger about it? Is there I don't get it?
Huh.
That's a whole other journey. Just leaving you that for your therapy sessions.
Okay.
So anyway.
I'll take that with me. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
There's
it.
your gift for the day.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
We've all got work to do all the time.
We do.
So.
We do.
Well, good.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Enjoyed
Yeah.
it. And hopefully everyone did. And we'll probably have you back soon. That'd be great.
Okay. Love you, brother. Thank you for the time.
Love
Thank you.
too.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Yes.